This video is me trying to put y'all on game on how the AD Luka trade has happened. This goes beyond the game on the court, and I promise if you stick through this whole video, you will appreciate what the video has to offer. Even skip through some of the sections if you want to get the appropriate details you want to know. I'll add timestamps for you. Now it's time to let me put y'all on game. We all know about the Lakers Mavericks trade. Somehow a GM made the craziest trade of all time seemingly. Luka Doncic for AD and Max Christie. A trade so bad that the franchise has rioted in front of American Airlines Center to get Nico Harrison fired, or even worse. A trade so bad that even the team had practically suffered in silence losing their guy since they didn't even know it was happening. A trade so bad that the GM has hired full-time security for his family and his own safety. A trade so bad that even pissed off the coach of the Mavericks. Look at Jason Kidd listen to Nico Harrison's response when Kidd himself was asked a question about the trade.
With Luka's pedigree and potential that he's shown so far, this feels like a move that you absolutely have to be right about. There can't be any doubt in your mind when you pull the trigger on it. I'm just curious, what convinced both of you that you will not be wrong?
Well, let's be clear. I'm the one making the decision, and Jay's supportive of it, so it's me.
This is a man that is an inch away from going off. But Nico Harrison is the same guy who essentially crafted this team. The same man who in 3 years developed an NBA Finals team last season. The same guy who said after their finals appearance that the core would remain the same.
Nico, you said you love this core and your goal is to build this team for championship aspirations. When you look at the roster construction, what areas would you say needs to improve for this team?
Really, I think we have the pieces. I think we just need to get better ourselves. Since I've been here, I've always, but our front office staff, we've always been looking to make it better, so we'll continue to do that. But the core is intact. If you look at our top 7-8 players that play the biggest minutes, I don't see anything happening with that.
What would make a GM who masterfully handcrafted a potentially great team trade away their best player in less than a year? Reports would tell you that he had issues with Luka's weight management, commitment on defense, the subtle jabs filled with empty meaning. We've seen and heard all that crap, but I call BS on that.
And if you look at a guy who had, after game 3, had the world on his neck, the scrutiny, which was crazy, the amount of scrutiny that he had to face, and for him to focus in and do what he did in game 4, I just think it just shows the character of him and is willing to fight through adversity. And I think he's going to continue to get better. He's 25 years old. So I think just going through the finals, him seeing what he needs to do to be at his best in the finals after going through a grueling end of the year and then 3 tough matchups, I think you're going to see the best version of him.
If it was that bad of an issue, the Lakers, after making the trade, would have already assessed that. Look at the Mark Williams trade. We also don't normally keep track of GMs, but from the many interviews I've seen of Nico Harrison after the finals appearance, he didn't give any indication that he was going to trade away Luka. There's some cover-up going on here, and Nico Harrison is catching all the heat of something that is occurring behind the scenes. He's just the scapegoat. And I believe that I found the answer for you Mav fans, Lakers fans, and all others who've been watching this. What happened? And it involves your sunshine, LeBron James, his eventual retirement, and the NBA expansion. This is just a reminder, but I'm just an NBA fan who was able to connect the dots that were provided to us. But I can also provide context on who the GM Nico Harrison is and how he got to where he is, and also how he was the specific key in making this trade possible. Nico Harrison is a former player turned Nike marketer and executive turned into basketball GM. He began his career working for Nike, and he started off working with NBA stars such as Dirk Nowitzki. There's the connection to the Mavericks. There's no doubt that when Mark Cuban looked at Nico for the position of GM in 2021, that Nico's connection to marketing Dirk played a major influence in landing the position. After all, Nico was a marketer, and I don't think we've heard any negative press when it comes to the European superstar. He didn't only manage Dirk though, as another player Nico worked with was Michael Finley, a former NBA All-Star, but also the current Vice President of Basketball Operations for the Mavericks, basically the right-hand man to the GM. Connections make life a lot easier, but there are other stars Nico would work with, such as Tim Duncan and Jermaine O'Neal. But most importantly here, we want to focus on Kobe Bryant, the LA superstar of the 2000s. And the timing couldn't have been any better for Nico to discuss with Rob Pelinka, the agent of Kobe at the time, who would eventually become the GM for the Lakers and would agree to the Luka AD trade himself. Connections on connections. You see, while Kobe is now the beloved figure we know now, his image was stained due to a charge in 2003. A charge with the slightest breath of mismanagement could have prematurely ended his NBA career. In 2004, while the charges were still in place, he was still playing but was also able to convince the Lakers to trade away Shaq, a beloved figure by the public. While the charges were dropped days before the prosecution, this case, along with the Shaq feud, basically destroyed the image of Bryant. Here comes Nike and in the background, Nico Harrison to save the day. Nike, a couple days before the allegations, signed Kobe to a 5-year contract worth over $40 million, but due to the ongoing incident, they were unable to promote Kobe themselves. The only way they would have a chance to take advantage of the contract and promote the troubled star was by letting Kobe prove himself on the court, and then he would also have to take advantage of a stellar performance. Fortunately for Kobe, he was able to prove this on January 22, 2006, as his incredible 81-point performance against the Raptors was exactly what Nike needed to start the positive promo. A month after this, Nike would promote their first commercial for Kobe in his Nike Air Kobe ones. From there, Kobe would be included in much more promotional appearances that would only improve his image to the public. Well, how does this connect to the trade we're talking about today? Well, Nico was able to craft the image of the LA superstar to what we know today. So we know he has the Lakers' best interests in mind. This is all to say that Nico is closely related to the Lakers and Mavericks. And if you need any more proof, well, there's a reason I have Nico and Kobe in the background here. It now starts to make sense why the trade was so secretive, that the Lakers would be the only team possibly involved for this trade to occur. Nico holds the Laker-Dallas connection that was necessary for this move to occur, but this only explains the how, not the why. We know what made the trade possible, but there's no clear reason as to why it was made. But the key to this lies with understanding the motives of Mark Cuban and LeBron James. Some people have theorized the Mavs are trying to move to Las Vegas, and while Las Vegas is a city the best at a new NBA team, it doesn't quite add up. Patrick Dumont, the governor of the Mavericks, is currently working with Brad Alberts, the CEO of the Dallas Stars, to invest in American Airlines Center. Also, the Adelson family purchased the Mavericks despite already having ties to Vegas with their casinos. It seems counterintuitive given that the NBA has entertained the idea of an NBA expansion and they already had investments made there. Here comes the LeBron James portion, the biggest portion of this whole video. And if you were wondering if LeBron had any idea of the trade, the answer is yes, he knew the entire time. You see, Las Vegas is looking to be one of the next NBA expansion teams introduced, and there's going to be a bidding war for the team. One of the potential suitors for the team, of course, is LeBron James. He even stated himself that his ultimate goal is to become an owner in the future.
And I know everything about our sport, like literally, like I know everything that goes on with our sport, and I want to continue to help our sport grow.
But you think about that now?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what you're gonna do.
Yeah, I think
what
about
else you
post
want to
career. I want to own the team.
buy a team?
Yeah, I want to buy a team.
There
for
you
sure.
go.
But the total price of the team is expected to be around at most $7 billion. And while LeBron is now a billionaire, I don't expect that within 3 years he will increase his net worth to exceed that value. It's a good thing that the Adelson family, one of the biggest hurdles to LeBron's path to ownership, got removed by Mark Cuban. You see, hours before Mark Cuban sold majority ownership to the Adelson family, that same family sold $2 billion of Las Vegas Sands stock. That's money to be added to Mark Cuban. There's also evidence of Cuban potentially working with LeBron James and other suitors such as Shaq, but he would have to make it okay with his current partners. Well, it's a good thing that he is still a minority over the Mavericks, so we know who his current partners are. While Cuban is not involved in day-to-day operations for the Mavericks anymore, he's still a minority owner. So that's who he's clearing it with. He's clearing it with the guys he sold the Mavericks to. So let's dumb all this down for a segment here. Mark Cuban is working with LeBron James and potentially Shaq for ownership of an NBA expansion team in Las Vegas. In order for this to occur, Mark Cuban has to get this cleared with his current partnership. Mark Cuban is currently a minority owner for the Mavericks still, even though he's not involved in day-to-day operations. And earlier this month, the Mavericks traded away Luka Doncic to the Lakers, the team that LeBron is currently playing for. If the Mavericks, or I guess the partnership in question, I'm assuming the Mavericks, weren't okay with this, I don't think they would have traded away Luka. I think that's safe, right? I think that's safe to say. From all this information, I think the safest conclusion to make is that this trade was a deal to prepare for LeBron James's eventual retirement, while also setting him up for his next business venture. Unfortunately, that means for you Dallas fans that your team was a sacrificial lamb for LeBron James and Mark Cuban. I feel really bad for you, to be honest, but this is the perfect segue to let LeBron find a new protege while also fading out to the NBA to retire. And to be honest, how else can you explain a trade that only the Lakers were aware of? A trade that didn't give the Mavericks as much assets as appropriate? Keep in mind, Mikal Bridges is worth like 5 first rounders. Like Luka has to be worth like 10, right? And a trade that destroyed the Mavericks' long-term aspirations. And how else could a trade happen if there wasn't a clear Mavs-Laker connection to make everything happen? And when you think about it, the bid LeBron is making makes perfect sense in the grand scheme of things. Michael Jordan was a minority owner for the Wizards after retiring a second time for the Bulls. What would be a better way for LeBron to continue his case as the GOAT against Michael Jordan than gaining ownership himself at the perfect time near retirement and potentially doing better than Jordan? The bar isn't high for him to reach in that regard. I bet that there'll be other people listing other reasons as to why this trade potentially happened, but I think I hit the nail on the head here. This was one of the most interesting videos I made, and honestly, I didn't think some of the things I thought of was even true until I got definitive proof of it. I hope you were interested in what I found, and if you liked the video, hit that sub button for me. Thank you.